Today we are going to solve Leetcode problem number 1328, break a palindrome. So what is a palindrome actually? A palindrome is a string which read from the front to last or from the end to the front is the same string. Suppose we have a string SDFDSA. So this one, either you read it from the first to last or in the reverse order, it's the same, right? Similar, if there's only a string of length 1, it's still a palindrome. A string of length 2 is still a palindrome. If both the characters are same. String of length 3, this is also palindrome because we have A on both side of B, and if we read it either way it's the same. And a string like this is not a palindrome. A string like this is a palindrome. So now we know what a palindrome is. Let's try to solve this problem. So the given problem is that we are given a palindrome string and we need to break the palindrome, and we need to break it in such a way that it's lexicographically smallest. So we are going to replace one of the characters. To break a palindrome, what we need, it reads same from first and last, right? So to break a palindrome, we just need to replace any one of these characters by some other character. So suppose I replace A with Q, and now we get a string which is not a palindrome. But in case of single letter, even if I replace it with any digit, it's still a palindrome, right? And in case of double two characters, we can replace any of these and it breaks the palindrome sequence. So for any of these, it's like the same thing. So only if it's a single character, we could not break it. And now what we actually need to do is, there's a given constraint that the given string should be lexicographically smallest one possible. So is this a lexicographically smallest one? We initially had A. Let me create a good example, like a simple one. Now in this case, can we break the palindrome? Yes, we can. Now what will be the smallest, lexicographically smallest string? Well, if I replace A with B, what I get is B A B A A. And if I replace the second character with B, what I get? A B A B B A A. And what about third character? Even if I replace the third character, which is B, it is not going to break the palindrome. So I don't change this one, I change the fourth character let's replace it with B, because B, A is the smallest and the second smallest is the B. So since we need the smallest one, we need to replace by the smallest character, right? Now among these four, which is the smallest one? Of course this is the smallest one, because we have A B A and B at the end, but in this case we have A B. So until this, for these two cases, the first three characters don't make a difference, but the last two, B A is greater than A B, so this is greater. Now what about these two, A B, and we have A B is greater than A, so this is greater and this is the smallest one. What about this? We have a B at the very beginning and we have an A, so of course this is the smallest one, right? So for this one, in order to break, we need something like this. What about we have something like A B this. So to break the palindrome, we just need to replace the first character with the smallest one, and the smallest one will be A. So once I do this, I get the smallest one. What about if I have something like this is still a palindrome, and to break the palindrome, I'm just going to replace the first character, the only one first character, and then here I get my palindrome, which now I break the palindrome, right? So if we look at the pattern here, so what are we doing is we are only replacing the first character or the second to the first. Suppose we have something like this. Now to break the palindrome, I could replace A with B, and then I'll get something like this. Or I could replace the second character, which is a B here, with an A, B, A. So I get another string which is not a palindrome. So which is the smallest among these two? Of course this is the smallest one. So to get the smallest, what we do is we every time replace the character with an A, and we only do it till the half of this length of the palindromic string. So I'm gonna only check for these two characters and replace them by the smallest one, but since these two are already A, so I only change the last character, because if everything bigger than A is greater, right? And suppose I'm not able to replace this with A, which means that I can replace this with B. But if I replace this with B, then and I replace this with B, so I have two choices: to replace the first character with B or the last character with B. And which of those do you think is the smallest one? Of course, replacing the last character, right? We already saw that from here. So if I am not able to replace any of the characters till the half of the length of the palindromic string with character A, then I'm going to replace the end with the character B. Else I'm going to replace one of the characters with A, one of the first characters with an A. So let's write our code now. And yeah, for a string of length 1, I'm just going to return an empty string. Let n equals to length if equals to 1, return an empty string. And now for I equals to 0, I is less than parse int n by 2 I plus plus. I'm only doing for I less than n by 2. Why? The length here is 3, so half of this is 1, and I don't need to check this, because even if I replace this with any other character, since it is odd, this won't break the palindrome. And in case of even, the half less than half is the half itself, so that's totally fine for even and for odd as well. So what I do is I check if palindrome high, or we could just like not equals to, because A is the smallest of all. If palindrome at that index is not equals to A, then we are just going to replace palindrome slice plus, and then we add the character A, and then slice it again from I plus 1. And so here I am slicing from 0 index until the total number of characters is I, and then I replace the ith character by a, and then I slice all the characters from I plus 1 character index. And if I'm not able to return anything from here, which means that all the characters are a, and in order to break that I need to replace the end, the last character, by b. Talking about the time complexity, since we only have one for loop and it runs through only n by 2, that is half of the length, it's still O of n time complexity. And the space complexity is O of 1. It's a constant space complexity. Great.